Well then, everyone, dig in.
Bon appetit!
Huh? Chicken?
I'm sorry. Helen, darling, aren't you even a little frustrated?
It'll be okay, because I'm gonna stop sending her the monthly $1,000.
Trouble busters!
Mrs. Williams, are you all right?
Helen, dear, calm down. She's doing great.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Kingston.
You ought to thank Helen here. It was her nice decision to call me, after all. What kind of wife doesn't show her support right when their mother-in-law's in a crisis? Why didn't Helen come?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Williams. I don't feel very well today.
I see. And I took such good care of you.
When I first got married, my mother-in-law, Mrs. Williams, was a very kind person, but this was the trigger for her to start harassing me.
It's been half a year and it still hurts. And the fact I'm so useless, it's terrible. I can't help pluck out the weeds, I can't clean or do laundry or go shopping even.
I'll do it all for you, Mrs. Williams.
But I feel bad for you, dear.
Please, you mustn't feel that way. I will do it, Mrs. Williams.
I'm sorry for leaving you alone to take care of Mom, Helen. As an apology, I'll give you the best massage I have to offer.
My husband, Sean, has always been such a sweetheart and comforted me. That's why I can't talk to him about his mother, and also, the way Mrs. Williams spoke to me is also very ambiguous because, on the surface, it sounds like she's trying to take care of me.
I made some stew. Take some home with you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Williams.
This is Sean's favorite. That darling won't eat anything that isn't my cooking, after all.
In this manner, I was made to do a lot of heavy shopping, clean the house as though every day was an entirely new year, and take her to frequent visits to the hospital, all while being treated with harsh criticism and ungratefulness.
Hello? Ah, Helen dear, could I ask you to do some shopping for me?
Of course.
I would like 10 2-liter drinks, please.
What, 10? But that'll weigh close to 45 pounds.
I have some people coming over, but if you're busy or something, I can go myself.
I'll buy them, Mrs. Williams, and then I'll bring them over straight away.
Really? You really are very kind. You know that, Helen? It would be terrible if I wasted that kind side of yours.
This is a good example of how I became entangled with my mother.
Nice work, Helen, darling. Very soon my daughter and her family are coming over.
Is that so? In that case, though, you ought to have asked Miss Karen and her husband for the drinks.
We ordered some delicious unagi to be delivered from that Japanese place. Care to join us?
What? Can I really?
Of course, you are an important wife of my Sean's anyhow. Well then, everyone, dig in.
I love unagi. It is so tender and so exquisite.
Bon appetit!
Bon appetit!
Huh? Chicken?
I'm sorry. I figured unagi wouldn't be palatable since it doesn't suit the class you grew up in, so... Oh my goodness, so delicious. Simply amazing. Helen dear, would you mind making us some tea?
Wouldn't it be better for you to help Helen too, Karen?
Oh, well, I guess.
Oh no, you mustn't worry. You sit down, Karen, honey. Helen here has an amazing physical endurance, you know. She says she gets satisfaction from helping people by moving her body around a lot. And it's because she's such a hard worker that she's able to keep such a nice body.
Really? I'm so jealous.
That feminine body of hers is what enslaved my darling Sean, you know. Completely head over heels. Truly beautiful. Truly.
I see.
I also hear that Sean massages her every night after she finally lies down for bed. That sweetheart really became a true man, it seems.
Huh.
Oh, it seems like we don't have enough drinks here.
I'll bring some now, Mrs. Williams.
Are you awake?
What the hell?
What happened to you, sweetie?
I told Mrs. Kingston everything there was to know about the previous 6 months. Mostly about all the psychological harassment. Mrs. Kingston, who had kindly been listening intently, then took my hand.
It's been tough up until now, dear. You did your best, and you did well.
Mrs. Kingston?
But this must end now.
Yes, ma'am. I vow to stop just enduring it, completely.
That's it. That's the spirit. Let's work together and bring justice to Jane. Troublebusters, initiate!
A mere 3 days after I was discharged from the hospital, Mrs. Williams became impatient and called me to ask me to run an errand again. This time's errand was to head to a specific bakery for some biscuits. She never knew what was coming her way. "Mrs. Williams, I brought you the biscuits."
Ah, Helen dear, I'm sorry again for all that I ask you.
"Are you all right? I can pour the tea if you want to, ma'am."
So, this is the notorious Mrs. Useless.
"The wife ought to have some tea ready from the beginning, damn it." "Sorry to have kept you waiting, ladies."
What do we have here? Isn't this some cake from that famous bakery, Sugar Buster?
"Do you like it by any chance?"
It's my favorite cake of all time. Seems like you're a kind girl who also understands our generation.
"Thank you very much, ma'am." "Mrs. Williams, there's the usual shopping today too, I suppose. I'll clean the bathroom and change the sheets as usual."
As usual?
Huh? This sounds somewhat different from what I heard from you, Jane. You told us that she was a mean wife who wouldn't help you despite you being injured, didn't you?"
It's not a lie. Helen is really cold towards me, honest. I called her to help me, but she went to call on Kingston here, ordering her to help me, and she herself didn't come.
That's definitely a cold wife.
That was because Helen couldn't move at all due to dizziness, and she must have gathered her wits to do something to help her. When I received the call, you have no idea how worried she was about her mother-in-law.
Is that so?
Oh, it's true. On the other hand, I feel sorry for Helen, to be honest. Helen, darling, aren't you even a little frustrated about being so vindictively hated for something that happened half a year ago?
I am, Mrs. Kingston, but it'll be okay, because I'm going to stop sending her the monthly $1,000. It'll be okay.
$1,000?
Yes, ma'am. I do the shopping for you every day, drop you off at the hospital, and pick you up, and I don't receive a single penny for those expenses. So there's no occasion for you to spend money, is there, Mrs. Williams?
What? She went shopping for you every day, Jane?
Yes, ma'am. Here are the receipts for a full 6 months. Would you like to take a look?
What the hell is this? 5 1.8-liter bottles of soy sauce? Why would that much soy sauce be bought all at once? Oh, so heavy for sure.
I agree, Mrs. Adams. But Mrs. Williams would write it on a grocery list and give it to me, telling me to buy what's on the list. No wonder you make so many stews every day. I wonder, was there any sharing with anyone? I wonder how Mrs. Williams managed to use up all 9 liters of soy sauce in 1 week, since I was told to go buy 5 more the next week.
Why did you keep all these? Let's see here. I'll read it all aloud. 5 1.8-liter bottles of soy sauce, 3 bags of sugar, 5 1-kilogram containers of miso, 5 1.8-liter bottles of Japanese cooking sake, 3 pumpkins, 3 heads of cabbage, a box of onions. At this rate, you're packing all the damn heavy stuff like a devil.
On one occasion, the loops of 2 of the plastic bags were torn off, so it was heavy.
What on earth did you use 3 pumpkins for when you were alone at home? Froze everything as much as possible, did you?
I went all out multiple times. Instead of thanking me kindly and offering to repay me somehow, you remain indifferent to it all. And even worse, you go and talk shit to your friends.
What are you talking about? I haven't done anything wrong. I always told you I could manage if you couldn't oblige when I asked you to go shopping or pick me up. But even so, it was always Helen who said she would do it. Don't blame me for what you brought on yourself and pretend like I'm forcing everything on you.
I would like 10 2-liter drinks, please. It would be terrible if I wasted that kind side of yours. There is no way that there is a wife in this world who can refuse a favor from her mother-in-law after being told this.
That triumphant, mean face makes you look even meaner than usual. More to the point, where is the evidence that I said anything like that? Seems like this is just a claim without foundations. Evidence, eh? Yes, evidence. Without any, it's just an accusation, and a cruel one at that. Judging people without anything solid shouldn't be okay. I agree, but hey, there is evidence, you know.
Huh?
There's evidence? Irrefutable evidence at that. Can you see this? Do you know what's wrong in this photo?
Wait, what?
A chicken.
Everyone's having unagi, except for one.
That's right, Mrs. Abbott. I figured unagi wouldn't be palatable since it doesn't suit the class you grew up in, so…
This is an inescapable verdict of guilty. That's terrible, Jane. This makes Helen look so miserable. Who would have thought, eh? That Jane was a person like this, really disappointed in you.
Why is everyone making me the bad guy here? Isn't only what you guys know stuff that happened in the last 6 months? I'm the one who really knows how cruel this witch Helen really is.
Helen is cruel, you say? Who are you to say that, despite her taking care of you so much?
Why are you home, sweetheart? I called him to come home.
Why, Mom? Why? Why aren't you willing to accept Helen's feelings for you, eh?
Helen's feelings for me? And where, pray tell, are those feelings?
The 1,000 you were receiving every month, that's not my money. Helen was the one giving it all to you.
What? Enough lying, Sean, honey.
Originally, Helen was, and still is bound to be, a talented saleswoman who has been praised many times for her excellent sales performance. She has a strong sense of responsibility, so she regretted not being able to rush to your aid right away when you got injured, and she sent you 1,000 every month instead.
What a kind wife she is.
With that money, she thought that you could eat whatever you wanted, and that you would be able to take up some hobbies to distract yourself. Helen was thinking about her mother-in-law that much, you see.
For Christ's sake, whenever anyone opens their mouth now, Helen, 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 Helen. Is her name the only word inside that head of yours? Maybe your own heart to take care of your mother was thrown out of the window, eh?
Huh? That's not what we're talking about right now.
That's how you were frickin' brainwashed by Helen, Sean. I am Her Radiant Majesty Helen, a pure and righteous saint. My love, allow that old mother of yours to be forgotten or something.
I have never said anything like that.
Even if you haven't, my own darling son, who was always so kind to me, is now yelling at me as if to back me into a corner. You were the reason why this is happening. She's such a scary woman.
Mom, how dare you say such a thing? You've already crossed the line of what is okay to say as a person.
Will I be able to protect my dignity as a person for a wife like this? Hell no! I hate women like Helen. You bitch, always having men pampering you and protecting you at all times. Give me back my son now! Jane, dear, I know that you've been through a lot of trouble, but right now you are completely alone in this.
Nothing but a lovey-dovey mommy for her baby boy. Even if you can't let go of him, you can't let your married son become your husband, figuratively.
Why not? If you're my friends, you should understand how I feel.
I am grateful to you for raising me this far and giving me so much love, Mom. But what I love now is Helen. No matter how important my own mother is, if she hurts the woman I love, I will become a shield between you and her and myself to protect her.
No, Sean.
That's why I don't want you to have anything to do with Helen anymore.
No, Sean, please.
If you had also taken care of Helen, whom I cherish so much, I wouldn't have had to say things like this.
Mrs. Williams, I loved you so much. I lost my own mother when I was very little, so I never had a chance to stand in the kitchen with her. So when you were teaching me how to cook, Mrs. Williams, or when you told me that the food I made was delicious, I felt as though I had been praised by my own mother, and I was so happy. I thought I had finally found my own mother again, so it's a huge shame.
Then maybe consider this. If you just say, let's continue living like we did in the old days, things will fall into place.
Mrs. Williams, I'm sorry, I cannot do that. I'm afraid an unmistakable fear for you has already seeped into my bones. I can no longer trust you as innocently as I could before.
You yourself severed the bonds that bound our family, Mom.
Furthermore, she was taken to work as a volunteer to help her have a change in heart. And because she lost me as a worker, she started doing all the housework herself once again. Thanks to that, she was able to do thorough daily rehabilitation, and her legs are now feeling much better. And as for me, my husband and I are happy to announce we're with child. I'm currently suffering lots from morning sickness, and although I don't have a mother close to me that I can rely on, Mrs. Kingston fulfills that role very well by taking great care of me in many ways.
For you to be a healthy little girl, darling, Mommy must also be healthy. Come on now, let's all go for a walk.
It's not like I'm not worried about starting a new life. I'm terrified. But with all the support I have, I'm going to do my best as a new mom.
Troublebusters!